I've been making some changes to my desk setup over the last couple of months, so it's the annual 2021 desk setup tour. So the setup of my desk is extraordinarily important to me. The desk and the entire office around it is set up and configured and engineered to maximize productivity. And predominantly I'm using it for video editing, but increasingly I'm using it for game streaming as well. So being able to get that content up and uploaded quickly and not have to faff around with loads of equipment is extraordinarily important. So let's get straight into it, and starting with the screen real estate. In the middle, I have an ultra-wide monitor from Acer, the Acer Predator X34P. It is the P variant, so it's 120 Hertz as opposed to the older models 100 Hertz. Not a 4K display, but still a very high resolution of 3440 by 1440. This kind of aspect ratio is brilliant for video editing, and I also personally find it really immersive for gaming as well. And flanking the ultra-wide are two relatively cheap Benq 1920p monitors. Now, I do have a sideline hustle development project that I've been working on for some time, and coding on 1080p monitors that are in portrait is just fantastic to do. I've also got OBS configured in a top and bottom studio mode, and that's great to have on one of these side monitors as well. They're also great for kind of reading web pages, that kind of thing as well. And on top of the main monitor, we've got the Logitech Brio webcam. That's a 4K webcam. I don't really have it particularly for streaming. It's more for the Windows Hello functionality, albeit I did used to use it for streaming in the past. The reason I don't use that anymore is because mounted behind the monitor, I've got my crop sensor Sony A6500 camera. That's plugged into a capture card on my PC and allows me to capture 4K video if I'm doing a vlog or something like that. But again, 1080p predominantly when I'm streaming to Twitch. Above all of this, I've got my speakers, the legendary, old but still fabulous Audio Engine A5 Plus for speakers that plug into a 3.5mm jack on the back of your computer. They've got to be heard to be believed. They are absolutely fabulous, and they're really good to use as a monitoring set of speakers. They give pretty accurate and reasonable audio reproduction, so again, good for video editing. Moving down to the peripherals on my desk, we've got the Corsair K95 keyboard. This is really, really robust. It gets, phenomenal amounts of use. I'm at this PC either, working, streaming, editing more hours a day than I care really to admit. So it does get quite a bit of use, but it's really robustly built. It's got an aluminium chassis, no twisting in there, really robust, nice leather wrist strap as well to prevent repetitive strain or anything like that. Alongside that, the Corsair M65 mouse, really accurate, really good for first-person shooters. It's got a sniper button on there that just kind of lowers down the DPI to give more precise movements, but a good all-round general mouse just for video editing, working, streaming, doing email. It's a nice combination, this keyboard and mouse. Of course, above the keyboard, the obligatory, Elgato Stream Deck. That's really handy for the streaming. It's not just handy for streaming. You can set up like macro keys. You can use it to open applications. It's just a slicker, quicker way than having to navigate your way around the Windows menu. And then above this, my new favorite peripheral, the GoXLR, really, really phenomenal audio interface that just gives in my ears all of the audio that's going to the stream. It's got a whole routing system in there so that you can route audio to and from different places. I'm not going to go into loads of detail on this in this video. I will be doing a dedicated video on that. And plugged into the GoXLR is the legendary Shure SM7B. I cannot begin to tell you how long I've wanted this microphone for. Its really nice and deep, boomy vocals. It's got that lovely proximity effect when you get it nice and close to your mouth. And shamelessly copying Joe Rogan, it's attached to the Frameworks boom arm. That's got the XLR cable all integrated inside it. And I've actually mounted the boom arm into the desk itself, taking some really good recommendations on some forums. I've used the in-desk Rode mount that came with my old boom arm. Looks really, really nice. All of the cables routed through the table, so it's really easy to access but aesthetically pleasing at the same time. And that's been really important to me in getting this whole setup set up. It's got to be functional, it's got to help from a workflow perspective, but it's got to look good at the same time. And then nestled next to the GoXLR on the right hand side, I've got an Amazon Echo Show. It's really handy for predominantly just telling the time, but that would be a very expensive way of just telling the time. It does also integrate with my Ring home security system, so you can bring the video feeds up onto that. Of course, you can ask questions. It's integrated with my Nest thermostat system. It can control all of the Hue Philips lights that we've got scattered around the house. It's just a handy thing to have there. And on the other side, to help me relax a little bit when I'm having a little bit of downtime, is a Tibetan singing bowl atop of its cushion there to help me transcend some more meditative states. I've also got the Elgato Key Lights, 2 of those, and I've put additional soft boxes on there. Now, they are reasonably soft, actually. They've got some reasonable diffusion in them, but I still found the lighting a little bit harsh, so I've added these removable soft boxes. These are kind of like mobile soft boxes. They weren't cheap, actually, but they do just help soften that lighting down and create slightly less harsh shadows. All of this being powered by a custom water-cooled PC in the legendary Case Labs SMA A8, Jay's 2 cents Skunksworks inspired build, and I make no apology for it. An increasing array of VR headsets atop this. And then from a bit of personal branding perspective, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so there are some Star Trek ships, a big head Spock, and some vintage posters that all represent the 1960s original episodes of Star Trek. Now, you might have noticed that over on the left-hand side, there's a bit of a space there. Now, I'm likely to put another PC in there. That's either going to be a dedicated streaming PC, or it's going to become the dedicated gaming PC if I can ever get my hands on an RTX 3080 or 3080 Ti, which are rumoured to be coming out very soon. I haven't quite made up my mind yet. The PC I've got's got 2 RTX 2080 Ti's in SLI in it, and it's no slouch. Also got a Threadripper 3960X, so it's not the current generation CPU and GPU, but it's certainly no slouch either. Now, a couple of productivity hacks I've got on here, particularly around VR, as I've got a dedicated display port extension cable that routes round from the back of my PC and is super glued for all effects and purposes onto the bottom of my desk, and alongside that a USB 3. Now, I use lots of different VR headsets, partially for some of the development work that I'm doing, but also because, you know, if I'm in an Oculus dedicated game, I'm going to be using an Oculus headset. If I'm doing some sort of simming, I'm going to be using the HP Reverb G2. And if I'm doing something slightly more action-based, it's almost certainly going to be the Valve Index. So I'm constantly swapping the VR headsets in and out. I don't want one dedicated connection to the back of the PC, but this stops me having to reach around to the back of the PC every time I want to connect a VR headset. On the opposite side, I've also got a USB 3 extension. That's handy for plugging in things like a HOTAS, where you've got the throttle on the left-hand side and the joystick on the right-hand side, so you want to be able to route the cables in different directions. And last, but by no means least, there is an SD card reader mounted to the bottom, again increasing productivity of getting that video and audio content off of SD cards and quickly into the machine. And also snuggled around the back of the K95 keyboard is a USB 3 pass-through, which is connected to its own dedicated USB port. Now, I do struggle with the sheer number of USB peripherals that connect to this PC, so I've got a USB 3 card that has a dedicated controller per USB port. That's particularly helpful when using VR headsets, which are very, very data hungry. I originally bought this when I had the original Oculus Rift, which had external sensors around there, which were, for all effects and purposes, cameras. And again, that dedicated controller per USB port was really, really handy to have. I'm really, really pleased to say I'm no longer using this computer for work, and I'm not going to go into the reasons for that in this video, but you will be hearing more about that in the days and weeks to come. So a setup tour with a little bit more work to do here, but I'm really pleased with how this desk is shaping up. I'm gonna throw up an old view of this desk that looked very sparse and plain relative to how it's evolved over the last few years, but it's you know, it's been an absolute work of passion and pleasure, and you know, it's really helping with my productivity. So there we go, guys. As always, I hope you're really well wherever in the world you are. Please like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in my next one.